Thank you and welcome to the Mature Living Show. Of course, this week we have great information for you, a lot of activities here in El Paso. And of course, I am the director of the Senior Adult Program at the El Paso Community College. And today we want to start our show by talking a little bit about the Plaza Theater and some of the activities and shows that are planned there by the El Paso Community Foundation. Now, we've invited Kathrin Berg. Glad to meet you, Kathrin.
Nice to meet you, too.
You're the Executive Vice President of the El Paso Community Foundation. And welcome to our show. And hopefully this won't be the last time, because I know you'll like it.
I do. I watch all the time, so it's great.
Okay. Tell me a little bit, and we're going to be talking about the Jewel Box series. And when it started, what is it? Where do we go?
Exactly. So as you may remember, back in 2006, the El Paso Community Foundation, in a public-private partnership with the city of El Paso, restored the Plaza Theater. And it's a restoration versus a refurbishment because we wanted to make sure it was still of national significant history in that area. But when we did that, there was this space upstairs that could have been a storage room, it could have been office space, but we thought, we don't have a nice black box sized theater. And so it's called the Philanthropy Theater because there are so many people that had funds in the Community Foundation that thought, let's make this a theater. And so we were able to pull from those funds and create this jewel box of a theater.
Smaller version?
It seats 191 people, very intimate space. Wow. And once the Plaza Theater was open, that space upstairs, it rarely got used. A lot of people didn't know about it. Yeah. And so the Community Foundation spoke with El Paso Live and said, is there a way that we could waive rent of that theater for local performers, for local artists, no matter what the artistry is, whether it's plays and theater, whether it's music, whatever it is that they're doing. And so we worked on that for quite some time and then got together with the local artists and thought, well, this could be a place for you to perform. You can get a bona fide master ticket, which is a big deal for people who ordinarily do not have a bricks and mortar place to perform, and or they're just charging what they can at the door to have people come in. And so the series was then born, and it was born out of several board members that were also in this idea of how can we get local artists here and perform their art and not have to do it in somebody's backyard or literally, try to find
in a high school.
Or in a high school, or they're not able to because they can't afford rent somewhere. And so that's how it was put together.
That's amazing. I'm glad to hear that history. I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
So I have to go to these events that you're going to have.
Absolutely.
Tell me when the series starts, and it's the 7th, I believe.
It's the 7th season, but we did take about a 2-year hiatus because of COVID. Again, it's an intimate space, so we wanted to make sure everybody was spread around, but we've been doing it for about 9 years. Wow. And we started the show again just this past month, and we usually do the second Sunday of the month during the school year. That's probably the easiest way to describe it. Good. So September, October through May is when we do it. We give everybody the summer off because a lot of artists, again, they're taking off.
Is this kind of matinee time, like around 2:30?
It's 2:30 on Sundays.
Very
exactly,
good.
2:30 on Sundays. And again, the key is if you go to the Plaza Theater, as if you're going to go to any show at the Plaza Theater, there is a side door on the left, and people are like, what's that door for? That goes up to the Magic Jewel Box Theater.
And our seniors that are watching are going to love these
it's lovely.
Matinees.
Yeah. And there's an elevator that takes you up and everything, so it's easy access completely.
Very good. The tickets are very affordable, I'm sure, and so
we keep that on purpose. We wanted to make sure that people who ordinarily would like to go see community theater, that they're not going to pay an arm and a leg, and all of the money that is it's donation really donated, the artists get to take that home. So the El Paso Community Foundation, we take no money. In fact, we lose money on this on purpose because we want to help promote it. We want to help promote the local artists. So the money, aside from them paying ushers and Ticketmaster fees, the artists get to take that money home.
Tell me a little bit about what's coming up, that we can talk about, that people can still attend.
Sure. We have, again, shows going on through May. We've got a singer-songwriter series. And so we have a gentleman that's coming in from Las Cruces, but he has toured all around the United States. He's actually done some international tours, and so he knows friends that also do the same thing. So he's bringing his friends in to do that. So that is going to be the December showing. And then January, we've got dance and multimedia. And then from there, we've got a jazz show, and then we have another theater show. So there's something that we try to do for everyone, and we try to stagger it to where every month there's something a little bit different.
Yes.
And artistic license is completely up to them. We will arrange for them to be able to be in there. We kind of joke it like there's no cussing and no, want to make sure it's a family-friendly show. But other than that, they have complete artistic license because they are artists and they don't get to do that in a lot of other places.
So do you have a time when local artists apply?
We do. So at the end of the season, which is in May, we open it up immediately for applications for the following season. So the applications are usually open for a month or two, and it's open to anyone in our region. And what they need to be is someone who either lives here, has roots here, when I say here, in Las Cruces, in Juarez, in El Paso, in our region. So that's very important because it is about local artists trying to make their way. And again, if it's the first Ticketmaster ticket they have, it's one bump up on their resume, one bump up on the vitae. It's one bump up.
So
and that's the idea of trying to give everyone a leg up.
I should have known about this a long time ago, 7 years ago. So
7
we could
years
have
ago.
brought you.
It's never too late to find these things out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And take grandma and grandpa over there.
Absolutely.
Jesus, great. And of course, it goes on through February, and you have the El Paso Stories by Felix Arenas. What is that about?
So he has a compilation of just different things that we have in El Paso that we love, like tamale making and Christmas. That's an El Paso story. How did the star get on our mountain? How did it become from Christmas to now every day? So these are stories that he has found from people who have lived in El Paso for a long time, and in Juarez and in Las Cruces. And he's kind of combined them into a play, into a theatrical setting. And so it's just you go and you're like, I remember that. Do you remember Morningside Mall? I remember that.
I remember Morningside.
So little things like that. And again, it's about finding the human in all of us that we all in this area collectively know about.
Well, we're going to have to write all of these dates down. That's going to be February the 12th. March the 12th, you have a jazz something.
Yes, and that is, and again, an intimate space. So it's almost like a chamber music jazz show. And they've got a couple of people switching out here and there. And again, we're trying to mix it up, do a little bit of theater, do the last play, I call it a play, was really a staged reading. And so we have stage readings as well. So it's a little bit of everything. And people can go to the El Paso Community Foundation website, epcf.org/jewelbox, and find that information, or just the El Paso Community Foundation. We've got that on the website. Well, I'm glad that you're letting people know.
I'm so interested in getting people out there.
Yeah.
So you do have a capacity, so we've got to get our tickets, and we can go to the website, or
you can go to the website. Really, the best thing to do, because Ticketmaster and El Paso Live's in charge of that part of it, the easiest thing to do and the least expensive way to do it is get the tickets at the ticket box office. Because otherwise there's fees and everything else attached to it. So that's what we encourage people to do. So
I want to go on to April, because you're going to go April and May, and the last ones are Bildad Tales.
Yes, and so that's another performance, and he is a gentleman that really helped out with our last performance as well, and he's just taking scripts that he has seen and they adapt it to. Again, the shows are about 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes. We don't do intermission on purpose, again, because it's a Sunday afternoon. And then the last program is Tuesdays with Maury, which is after the great book that most people know, that Eden Enterprises is doing that one. So again, we had, oh my goodness, I think we had 18 applications this year. And out of the 18, we had to choose 7.
Ooh,
and again, it's hard. That's the hardest part. That's the hardest part. But the nice thing is that we have such a beautifully knit artist community that if somebody doesn't get chosen, they are supportive of one another, and then they can try again the next time. And or what we find happening is that people that are selected, they bring in portions of other artists that did not get in for that year. And so, because again, everyone kind of knows each other in that community.
So what's the time frame? We should get there early, of course.
Yeah, 2 o'clock, the doors open at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
If you happen to be downtown, get your tickets early. If not, you can get them that day.
Okay.
You can get them on the website without question, but there are fees, and I always feel bad about that.
Yeah,
that's not something we're in charge of.
We always try to save a penny or two every which way we can.
Yeah, when the El Paso Community Foundation restored the theaters and then created the Jewel Box Theater, the Philanthropy Theater, we gifted those theaters to the city. So after that, we do not have control over the fees and the pricing and all that. What we were able to do with this particular series was have El Paso Live, again, waive the rent for the artists to be in there, but there's still the cost for them of the guy that's doing the lighting, the guy that does the sound. They have to be paid. So those are the small things that they would have to pay for still.
And the tremendous contribution that you all made of millions of dollars.
If I remember right, and I'd have to look, but it was about $43 million to restore that theater, and the city of El Paso did about half, and the El Paso Community Foundation did about half. So it took us many years to raise that money. Some people may remember the days of the Plaza Theater was going to be torn down and turned into a parking lot.
Yes.
And the lovely Rita Moreno came in, and she did a concert or two, along with a lot of our board members and donors that said, no, I had my first kiss on the balcony.
Oh, yeah.
I had my first date in the parking lot. There were so many of those people that came and said, no, $1 at a time, $25 at a time, raise the money to help us restore that theater. So it is definitely a human and something emotional for most of us.
I like what you named it, the jewel box.
Yeah, it is. It's beautiful
treasure
in there. It is absolutely beautiful.
Yes, well, I will be there, and I'll try to make it every month, and I'll try to keep the schedule, and get some friends to go with me. And I noticed that last one is Hector Serrano, and he's got quite a following as well.
And for those of you that don't know, he's the one that started Viva El Paso, that really helped out with Viva El Paso.
Yes.
And so the Community Foundation kind of helped out with that for a while, and now it's gone back. And,
so what are your needs as far as contributions? We always say, well, let's donate to the Community Foundation, or let's donate to this La Posada or other, nonprofits. Mm-hmm. Tell me how people can
right
donate.
now, since I see all of this beautiful holiday stuff up, right now, for example, we have Spirit of Giving, and people can go to the website and pick tags for different individuals that are having a hard time. We have the Winchester House, which is males that age out of foster care. So they're 18 to about 24, 25, but they're requesting backpacks and shaving supplies and deodorant. So that's a great way to give, especially during the season. Reynolds House, for example, there is a young lady who is 12 years old, and she wants to be a writer, and she's requesting sketch pads and journals and pens.
Easy.
So go to the website, and you have the stories of the different people of what they like, and either you can go out and purchase the gifts and bring them, or we can purchase the gifts for you and pay for it online. So that's just something that's in this season. But again, it's something going on all day, every month of the year.
Let's give a phone number that they can call our marketing director.
Absolutely.
Over there, and her name is Tess. Is it
Tess Passero? Tess
Okay.
Passero, and she kind of handles all the information that's thrown out on the websites, and she does social media, which is something, thank goodness, because I'm 55, and I'm happy to throw that out there.
I'm beyond that,
so she
so
knows
I
how
don't
to do that a little bit more. But it's 533-4020 is
good.
the main telephone number, 915. And that goes to the main line, and you can ask for myself, Kathrin Berg, or Tess Passero, who happens to be a marketing director, or the person who is answering the phone usually has all this information at her fingertips as well.
And we'll have another guest coming up here on Mature Living in just a moment.
Hi, my name is Yvette Lugo. I'm the director for the Area Agency on Aging. Our mission is to try to help older adults stay as independent and in the communities for as long as possible, as well as helping to support family caregivers in their role as caring for their aging loved ones. Our agency offers a variety of services and supports that can help in a variety of situations, everything from basic information and referral to help in the home. We encourage you to please call our office at 533-0998 so that we can try to assist you with your needs. Thank you.
Well, thank you for staying with us here on Mature Living. We have another guest and a great conversation coming up that you'll be kind of eavesdropping in as our audience today. And so we're going to be talking with Pastor Michael E. Grady, who is a pastor of the Christian Fellowship of the Prince of Peace.
Okay, thank you so much, Mary, for having me on today. And again, my name is Michael Grady. Pastor is what I do. Been in the ministry now for 54 years. Started preaching when I was 12 years old and been preaching ever since that. I was in the military for a little bit over 20 years, retired from that, and moved out in community, living in New Jersey at that time. And I have a wonderful wife of 45 years, plus 2 years of courting. I have 3 lovely daughters and 1 granddaughter. And I've been back here in El Paso. I came here in 1974, before the Spaghetti Bowl, and I returned in 2004. So 30 years elapsed in the military and traveling and pastoring in different parts of the country, as well as overseas in Germany and Italy and Greece and Turkey. Everywhere I went, we were proclaiming this liberty and this freedom to move us towards solidarity. Yes. And so again, back in El Paso, 2004, ended up pastoring the church me and my wife got married in.
Oh, how wonderful.
It was Phillips Chapel Christian Methodist Episcopal Church, and so we were there 11 years at that church, and then I launched out into the Central East as a Prince of Peace Christian Fellowship, where worshipers gather. And so we gathered in that place here on Wedgwood Drive, 2155. And we've been sort of working with the community through the NAACP. I am a member of the Board of Directors for Board of Network for Human Rights, the El Paso Police Accountability Task Force. As you know, the terrible tragedy that happened August the 3rd impacted me and my family and our daughter in a tremendous way. And so that sort of catapulted me on a national level to deal with gun violence and common sense gun legislation. I've testified before the legislature at least twice, and Congress at least 3 or 4 times, to talk about the issue of what's happened to the nation. And my life goal is to bring about a sense of solidarity and unity, to sit at a table and have a conversation about how did we get here and what are we going to do about it. It's a very uncomfortable season. There's tragedy all over the world. Yes. There's still gun violence, and I'm convinced that you cannot legislate morality. You can only model the opposite of that, which is unity and solidarity, yes, and a commitment to move us back to this one nation under God, yes, indivisible, with liberty, yes, and justice for all. It's been complicated. It is a complicated process. John Lewis says he was the consciousness of the Congress. And yes, so I sort of see myself as the consciousness of El Paso. Wonderful. And wherever we go, to really talk about the real and stop eliminating the need and the necessity to talk about common unity. Well, when we talk about community, it's our concepts of community are just a bunch of folks thrown together by destiny. Because people choose where they live, they choose which community they attach themselves to. Sometimes by virtue of the military. I was in Germany, I was in Italy. Different, it's still a community, but it's a different kind of community. Yes. So our concept of community sort of causes us to move away from each other once we move into community, because we have our own personal communities in our families, where we work, how much money we make, which side of the tracks we come from, where we live, who are the affluent and who are the least, the lost, the left out, the disenfranchised. So that becomes a divider instead of a unifier. So even though we're in community, one may not know their neighbor. Yeah. You know, one of my favorite statements is that faith works well until I wrap my religion around it, and my religion will allow me to discriminate against you Marianans because you're Catholic, but you live in my community, so I don't even speak to you. So again, we look at community from a different aspects, and here in El Paso, of course, we're on the border. It's about, I want to say, over 700,000 people in this city, and yet is there real community? There are communities birthed out of our community because of the concept of common unity. And what brings one group together may divide another group.
Yes.
We talk about the NAACP, we talk about civil rights, we talk about the need for and LULAC and all these organizations, but they're separatists in their own right, because again, to become a part of that, you got to pass the test. And what is the test? Agree with me on everything? Well, that's not a good test. The test has to be that I bring something unique and something special into this community that you've created, and that we can learn from one another.
And everybody has a role. Everybody stands and represents.
Yeah.
And there are some common
common things that unify
goals.
us for every human being. But again, when we create this second kind of community, then we sort of dissect ourselves into little communities. So you get a job at, say, at Fort Bliss, and you come in there, you're an individual. Now you're connected to Delta Company. And so now you move in the Delta Company, you get your bags, your duffel bag, you find your room in the barracks. Now you got to figure out, how does the community operate?
Yeah.
What compromises do I have to? Even in prison, there's this struggle of which community I'm going to be safe in. Wow. Which community am I going to be able to speak in, and my voice is going to be heard? Even in the jungles, we just launched a church in Kenya and in Pakistan. And so when I worship with my Kenya brothers, they're outdoors in the boonies. They don't have a building. They're outside. One of the goals is to eventually get them a tent. But we worship and we sing and we celebrate our faith.
Yes.
Our Pakistan group is a little bit different. So community is really based on how we examine the context of who we are individually, and then when we move into the collective, we've got to make some decisions.
So there are some challenges and some fears.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what that is and how we need to think about the challenges and those things that we fear.
Yeah. The challenge for any community is being able to see myself as being a vital participant in the common unity.
Okay,
to find out what that is. It's scary to move in that light because transparency is difficult. Mm-hmm. Honesty. We have 4 C's in our ministry: courage, competence, commitment, and consistency. And I say every Sunday that first C, courage, is really killing us. We don't have the courage to invest ourselves in communities that may disagree. Yeah. So we found a few folks that will agree with me, and therefore we make another community. So we're always replicating, but we may not be replicating the values because it causes us to examine ourselves, our strengths and our weaknesses, to know when to speak, when to be silent, when to be just present. In the military, they had a term, ministry of presence. And they would say, well, chaplain, you don't have to do anything. Just be out there with the soldiers. Just have your cross on your head there. Just be present. And being present is one of the greatest challenges that are before us. I looked at the most recent election, and out of the number of people in El Paso, with the number of candidates that were from El Paso, that was a very poor showing.
Yeah.
Although we call this community, you may say we make statements, well, he's from this community, really? But from the community may mean something different from one aspect to another. So it causes us to fear. It takes courage to see the issues that are facing our community and to find a common table to sit at.
Hi, this is a very, very interesting topic and one that we all need to take interest in. So where do we go from here? How do we begin to build common unity?
First of all, we've got to understand that we're not in unity. We can deceive ourselves and believing that what we are experiencing is community. Mm-hmm. But when we examine it from a closer context, it's us against them. We don't say that out loud, but we model that in how we live in our community. We model. When I march with Border Network for Human Rights, and when I'm standing in the middle of the Rio Grande with Bishop Mark Sykes, and people say, isn't he Catholic? And I say, yes, but Catholic, the word Catholic means universal. So I say, yes, so I'm standing with the universal representative of the Catholic faith in El Paso. So we're brothers. We pray together. We've cried together. We've laughed together. And so we're partnering in this common unity. When we did the border network a few years ago, I came out with a slogan: one people, one struggle.
Beautiful.
One people, one struggle. We can't say that that's a different struggle. It's them over there and us over here. At some point, we used to be all together, and someone created a border. We weren't born with borders. We were not born with walls. We were not born to go into Walmart and kill 23 people. That's not who we are. We learn that behavior in community.
Wow.
And depending on whether the community has some consciousness over the morals and the values, because each community has different values. There are different values. I come from the Midwest. I grew up in the oldest black settlement in the United States. It was all black, but there was a town about a mile away that was mostly all white.
And where was this?
That was in the Midwest, in a place called Brooklyn or Lovejoy, Illinois. And so we could go to the quote white community, but we had to be out before sundown. So these kind of things, it looks like, well, that's them and that's us, and as long as they stay there and we stay here, things are well. But it's not well, because what we've birthed, the statement, it takes a village to raise one child, is a great statement. But what if the village is sick? Then the child's going to come out sick. So we got sick villages raising sick children who are killing our children because they have lost their identity. Yes. We've allowed them to be identified based on what their passions are. And their passions may feel lost and disenfranchised and left out. But to destroy another community, to go to destroy another human life, yes, says I've already devalued myself. Yes. And so where do we go from here? To begin to sit down, not force yourself into those environments, but to ask those questions. Would you like to have a conversation about community? If we don't begin to move toward unity, one of the interesting things happened that when I testified before Congress, they could have said Mike Grady, but you know what they said? Well, Pastor Grady, what do you have to say? Now, I know I'm not their pastor, but the ministry of presence, what we represent, can change the world. I'm convinced that even in what's happening in this season now, people had already predicted and predestined that there's going to be this red wave, whatever in the world that means, but sovereignty intervened. You can call it what you want to, but it's not what they thought it was going to be.
And do we need to reach young people?
Yes, we definitely need to reach out young people, children. We have children in our ministry. We have Generation X, Y, and Z in our community. And we try to model. Again, it's not about rhetoric. It's not about talking. If you didn't have a tongue, if I didn't have a tongue, you would know that I loved you because of how I responded to you. And so we've got the TV has the tendency to have a lot of talking heads, but very few moving feet.
This topic of common unity was born with you, and it's a lifetime. It's just ingrained in you. Yeah. And I think you can make it happen, at least the beginning, to get it.
Well, people often ask me, so Pastor, how do you just get up and talk?
I know.
And I always say, because I never get up. That's not me talking.
Yeah.
That comes from a higher place. That comes from a 12-year-old, what I believe was a calling to be set apart. I am positioned where I am today simply because I answered the call.
Very good.
And every person has a calling on their life to affect change and to leave legacy.
And that's
Yeshua said, when he returns, I hope that I'll find faith in the earth. Not a billboard with my picture on it. I don't need to be on the Oprah Winfrey show, but I want to find faith. And what is faith? The ability to believe what has been spoken and to cause the manifestation of that in creation.
What a great time to end this conversation, and we wish you great success. We'll be there right next to you, and we will come closer to common unity. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Welcome to the struggle.
Yes, Pastor Grady, give us your phone number.
My phone number is 915-487-7836, and our website is princeofpeacecf.org.
Okay, you're going to get a lot of calls.
All right.